Hi everyone, it's Allie and I am here to do a tarot tag. So exciting. So this is a tarot tag that I actually saw first on Tarot by the Pines, Jason's channel over there. But then I learned that he got it from a video from Nancy at Paper Moon Tarot, which is not actually a channel I was familiar with. So I'll link both of those below and you can check them out if you're interested in them. And it's just a really fun prompt, right? Taking tarot on vacations. So after this year of lockdown, if you can plan to go somewhere, even just in your mind, I love to just sort of plan vacations in my mind sometimes as a stress reliever. Where will I go? What will I do? What will I explore and see? It's super fun. And then to pair tarot with it is such a great idea. So there are 7 prompts, 7 different vacations, and I've chosen 7 decks to go with them. One of them I cheated. You know me. And that's how this is going to go. So prompt number 1 is tropical/beach tarot. Swim with mermaids, sit on the beach, or travel the high seas. So this one was actually super hard for me to choose because if I'm going to go on vacation, a beach vacation is probably the last thing I'll choose. I had some of those vacations where you just lie by the pool and that's all awesome, but that's not what I'm really looking for now. I always want to go and explore and see new things and take in new sights. Sorry, the cat is trying to get up and she's climbing me basically. So I didn't really know what to choose, but in the end I went with Chris Ann's Lightseers Tarot. I have both editions. This happens to be the Mass Market edition. Sorry, I've been talking all day and my mouth is tired. And the reason I chose it was it's not particularly beachy or nautical or anything like that, but I do think, I mean, this is a pages of cups here, but there is a lot of water in the deck beyond the suit of cups. And it's just so bright and sunshiny. Like if I went on a beach vacation, this deck is what I would want the weather to be like in most cards. I'm just skipping over the 3 of Swords because that doesn't help my point. But you can just see this glorious sunshiny sunrises and sunsets, and even in cards that don't have water, but I pulled out a few that are watery, maybe not entirely water, but you could interpret this Magician card as being over water. I think you could also interpret it another way, but there's that. There's water in the Hermit card, which I think is beautiful, right? That sort of mountain and water juxtaposition there. Obviously, we've got some court cards with water, the King of Swords, and look at the size of that wave coming in. And the Moon card is also, I mean, the Moon card has water in it to begin with, but the water's really put up front here, and the dogs are backgrounded. Dog and wolf are backgrounded, so I think that's super interesting. So it was the beachiest deck I could think of out of the decks that I have, and I'm not really into mermaids or anything like that. It's so funny because I love Dame Darcy artwork so much. I'm not really into Alice in Wonderland, and I'm not really into mermaids. So just waiting for my Dame Darcy deck. Okay, mountain/nature. Hike in the woods, commune with nature, encounter furry friends. Perhaps a deck that fits in a backpack? Well, you know I don't like small decks, but I do have one. Actually, this is the one where I cheated, so I have 2. So initially I chose the Tarot of Trees. Shocker, I know. I have both versions of this deck, the little and the big. Obviously, I would take the little one because if I'm backpacking, I don't want to carry... Do I have it out? Oh, yeah. So, this is the 40th edition. I can barely hold it up with one hand. And this is the version that I would take, my teeny tiny edition. I bought this deck because it was the only Tarot of Trees available, and that's how much I loved it. Despite the fact that it's glossy, despite the fact that it's small, and I don't like small decks, I just adore this artwork, and I adore trees, and so this would be a no-brainer. Hi, cat. Hi. Oh, that's the back. Sorry. I'm distracted by this ding-dong up here. Okay. So that's 1. Find your place, cat. Yeah. But because I didn't want to be so boring, because I always pick the tarot trees for everything. Oh my God. Just bent on destruction, this thing. Just stay. Because I didn't want to repeat myself over and over and over again, I chose the Brady Tarot also for this prompt. If I'm going to see wildlife, then this tarot just fits that to a T. I love it so much. Oh, this is my favorite. I think this is one of the most famous cards from the deck, but it's just so stunning. And I remember, so I was an early adopter. One of the reasons why this wouldn't be ideal to take into the woods is because it comes in this huge wooden box that also houses the guidebook by Rachel Pollack. I mean, come on. So great. And now there's a second edition where the white border is moved off. The pictures are slightly expanded and it goes black to the edges. And I was 100% sure that I was like, oh, when that one comes out, I am getting it because I want to have borderless. I mean, there's still the other border, but anyway, I didn't because I love this one so much. The pictures came out and I was like, nope, my first edition is where it's at. And you just learn so much by reading the guidebook. And this is a deck that I just use for myself. And I still use the guidebook pretty much every time because there's so much in it. It's so rich. I haven't been able to master all of it really. But boy, do I love it. Whoa, just even holding it gets me all happy. That's why I like these tags. Like sometimes it's just fun to just touch your cards. I don't know, I'm a pretty tactile person and just like holding them and dropping them and making a fool of myself on camera just all works for me. Okay, theme park vacation is next. Let's go to Disneyland or any theme/amusement park or circus for the day. Also, this isn't going to be a surprise. Maybe I should stop doing these tarot tags because no one's ever surprised by what I picked. But for this, Halloween tarot. It doesn't specify. There are Halloween amusement parks and scary amusement parks, although this isn't really a very scary deck. But it's the most fun deck that I own, hands down. And everybody's going to get sick of me talking about how the Halloween tarot is criminally underrated. And it shouldn't just be used at Halloween, and everybody should use it. And it's not just a deck for kids and blah, 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 blah. Whatever. Wait for my full Halloween tarot video in August. It's coming. August? What? October. I'm sorry. I'm a yard sale. I might not post this video. We'll see. It's Wednesday. I'm tired. There's a lot going on. But it just evokes that amusement park thing to me. I don't know. Here it is right here. I was just going to talk about it. The strength card is at a circus. So there is that also made me think of it as well. But it's just the greatest deck. And I love it so much. And it does make me think of like a fun Halloween walkthrough for kids. Cultural vacation. Visit art galleries, catch a Broadway show, listen to a concert, or... Okay, so for this one, I chose... This was a tough one. I initially grabbed my Shakespeare Oracle, which is a tarot deck. It's just called Shakespeare Oracle because there was already a Shakespeare Tarot. But I just did a couple weeks ago my Everything I've Learned from video on that, and I was like, oh, nobody wants to see that again. So then I went with my medieval Scapini Tarot. I got a secondhand copy of this version because the 1980s one. And from what I've heard, the cardstock is a little better, a little less glossy, and the pictures are sharper. Pictures, like the reproductions of the drawings and paintings are sharper. Now, this is a deck that I love, and I actually have really begun into reading into this just intuitively and just looking at it. I think it's just so beautiful and classic looking, even though it's from the 80s. It uses all of those medieval imagery and all those tropes. But there is a book, and I think the author's name is Roland Decker. Am I right about that? Ronald Decker, maybe? I'd have to look it up. I look it up about once a month. It's called Art and Arcana, and it's out of print. It's entirely about this tarot deck and all the little secrets and Easter eggs that are hidden within it, and it is impossible to find. I want it so much. And so this is my like cultural, I would learn about everything medieval in this deck. I would learn all the little ins and outs. And what he was trying to evoke, because I actually don't know that much about the medieval time period. And I know bits and pieces, but not a ton. And it's probably all misinformed by TV and movies anyway. So I would love to do like an educational trip. I'd go to art galleries and plays and take this deck and just really soak it all in. So if anybody ever sees that book used, I mean, there is a copy on Amazon, I think for like $1,500. Once I saw a version on ABE books, or I'm never sure if it's Abe or ABE, but it's going to be over $100, and it's not a very big book, but just to have it delivered to Canada, and I hemmed and hawed, and then it went to somebody else, but I should have gotten it because I'll never find it cheaper than that. Occasionally it pops up on eBay for like $50,000 or something ridiculous. Adventure Tarot is the next one. Safari, mountain climbing, dig for treasure. What's your pleasure? Now this one is pretty personal to me because I learned how to have adventures by myself, which sounds kind of crazy, but when I was a kid, I really had this fear of being alone, like just sort of emotionally and spiritually. I liked to have people around me all the time. And then in my early 20s, I moved to a huge new city, and I was like, oh, I'm all by myself and I need to spend time by myself and learn how to be okay with it until I make friends. And then I loved it, like just going out for dinner by myself. And I took a safety book, I'd read my book, and so I wouldn't feel too self-conscious. But then I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the movies. There's a movie I want to see. And I had a few friends by then, but none of them could make it. And I was like, I'm just going to go see that movie by myself. And that sort of grew and grew. And just that idea of having adventures by myself. And eventually what would happen is when I had time off, I was maybe traveling to a place. I used to go to a lot of conferences for work, but I would have time off afterwards. And then I'd be like, oh, can I stay an extra week? And I just rent a car and just explore, take my tent and my sleeping bag and just rent a car and then drop it back off at the airport and fly home for a week by myself and just go to different campgrounds, especially in the States. There's campgrounds everywhere. It's so awesome. So when I think of adventure, one of the decks I think of, isn't this perfect, is the Spacious Tarot. This is the box here. I think this deck is still available. I think there's been a couple of editions since this. This was the one I backed on Kickstarter, and I just fell in love with it. It's all landscapes. Well, not all landscapes, but all non-human depictions. Oh, that strength card. My very first solo trip over a weekend, like that was longer than a weekend, was 8 days in New Mexico, and just going from campsite to campsite and exploring and going down the Turquoise Trail and visiting Taos and Santa Fe. And I just fell in love with the desert so hard. And then a couple years later, some friends and I, so it wasn't me solo, but we went all the way down the Baja Peninsula in Mexico. It's amazing. I love that one because there's a little typo on it, 3 of Pentacles. And they were like super embarrassed about it, I think, when on the Kickstarter, because everything had already been printed. But I was like, oh, it's cute and fun. So no people, landscapes, objects, but there's a real sense of call to adventure here for me, even in the simplest images. And you can tell, actually, I've been using it a bunch. I just love this deck so much. So good. Okay, education vacation is the next one. Number 6, go on an archeological dig, attend a tarot convention, study with the Dalai Lama, or learn a language. What do you want to explore? This is my most boring of all the answers. I can't even believe I'm doing it. I was like, maybe I should just fake it for the purposes of this video. Right, kitty? Because I'm so boring. Oh, she's consoling me. But it's the truth. And I don't know why, but over the last month, I've just been so digging the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So this is one of my gazillions of versions of this artwork, the Tarot of A.E. Waite by AGM. The cardstock on this one is really nice. It's got the crackle backs. I think the line work is lovely and the coloring is lovely. I also have like Dirty Pam and the Centennials, and like I'm just looking around at all my Rider-Waite-Smiths. I got a couple from Etsy, Tarot, the Dark Forest, I think it's called, and I got a bunch. But this is just the one I've been working with right now. I think it's really lovely, and I've just been looking and looking and looking at it and finding stuff in there I just hadn't really noticed before. I think there came a point where I was so excited to get new decks, and I was like, yeah, got it. I got the Rider-Waite-Smith. It's fine. That well, maybe it wasn't the time then to take more time, but I just am really digging it right now. So even though that's a super boring answer, what can I say? I would go to a tarot convention because I've never been to one and I've always wanted to go to one. And I would take a Rider-Waite-Smith. Basic. So basic. All right, last one. Haunted vacation. Ever want to go on a ghost hunt, stay at a haunted house, or tour a spooky castle? Yes, I wanted to do all of those things within reason. Just like I want it to be fun and respectful. I've been to places where I think ghost tours are added on simply as a moneymaker, which is fine. Like, places need to make money. So what I'm thinking of specifically was an old decommissioned mental hospital that is now being reopened as this. Most of the tours are to talk about the history of mental health treatment and what they got actually right, but a lot of things they got wrong as they grappled to understand different mental health issues. And ghost tours were sort of an add-on where I was like, oh, I feel like that's kind of sad given what this place was and how many people really suffered here, not from hauntings, but just from sadness and, the misfortune of mental health problems. And sometimes, this is especially gross. How am I going to do this with you, Kat? Like, for women, like, their husbands would just bring them in because they wanted a younger wife and be like, oh yeah, you know what? There was a whole list of ways that you could admit your wife. And one of them was doesn't like housework. Well, another was novel reading. So like there's some pretty dark stuff there without a ghost tour. So I didn't take any ghost tours there. But would I take ghost tours? Oh, heck yeah. Super fun. And for that, you might have thought I would have chosen my beloved Halloween tarot, but I got a better one for that. And maybe you can already guess what it is. I think it's perfect for this prompt. It's the Bohemian Gothic by Baba Studios. I have the 3rd edition, which I think is the final edition. Ouch, kitty. Cut her nails. I love the coloration of this one. All these blues, this atmospheric. All the faces are kind of just nuts. Okay. Yes, I know. Cheapers. And yet it's exquisitely beautiful. It reminds me of like Gothic literature, vampires and, Dracula, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier that plays on those tropes. And The Haunting of Hill House, I just reread for the 2nd time. Just so good. If you are interested in that book, know that the TV show is very different. Excellent. The TV show is amazing. And it's faithful in spirit to the book, but not in plot, which is fine. They're both amazing. Oh my God. Like, come on. That is a haunted tour host or guest. So isn't it perfect for that? I would absolutely I couldn't even think of another one. And I do have a number of spooky decks. I have the Zombie Tarot, and I have actually Robert Place's Vampire Tarot, which is extremely beautiful, but I still think this would be my pick. So those are my tarot vacations, and I would love to hear what yours might be. So would she, right, Callie? Little black cat came just in time for the haunted vacation. So I hope you enjoyed that. Can't wait to see your responses. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and have a great night.